Okay, so today we're going to review for your test over sections 9.5 through 9.8. The first section on your quiz and test. So it's the same review because it's the same concepts. It might be 2 questions on your quiz and then it's going to be 3 questions on your test. All right, but for the distance problem, we are going to do, all right, -4, 2. Actually, I'm going to write it up top just because I need a little more space. So -4, 2, and 5, -1. All right, and we're going to use the distance formula to find the distance between these 2 points. So this test specifically is going to be a lot of memorization. You have to know the distance and midpoint formulas, slope. You have to know 45, 45, 90-degree triangles, 30, 60, 90, and you have to know your trig ratios. So there's a lot of memorization. Pretty much every concept that you're going to see on your test requires some form of memorization. So formula is D equals the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. All right, so now we make our substitutions into the formula. x2 minus x1, did you catch the double negative? And, oh, that is not right. Oh, my word. Okay, let me try this again. x2, it's still a double negative. Minus x1, did I get it right that time? Yes. Okay, I'm just keeping you on your toes. And -1 minus 2 squared. This is another reason I don't record at the end of the day. Okay, so all right, I apologize for that. Okay, so 5 minus -4. What happens to the double negative? Turns into a positive. 5 plus 4 is 9. 9 squared is 81. -1 minus 2 is -3 squared is 9. So what's 81 plus 9? 90. So D equals the square root of 90. Now on those half sheet quizzes that we took on Wednesday, I had a lot of people leaving their answer here. Why is this not my final answer? It's not in simplest form. Now, I can't take the square root of 90, but to get it in simplest form, what do I have to make sure of? It has no factors that are perfect squares. So when I put it in my calculator actually says my answer is 3 times the square root of 10. So what does that mean about my perfect square factors? 9 times 10 is 90, and 9's a perfect square. So they took the square root of 9 to get 3. That's why 3 is on the outside. All right, so you do need to know. I'm going to give you this is a separate problem, but I'm going to give you a question on your test that says, I'm going to give you, let's say, the number 70, or we'll say 75. And I'll say, are there any perfect square factors in the square root of 75? What would you say? Yes or no? Yes. And what is the perfect square factor? No. 25. 25 is the perfect square. You can take the square root of that. So a perfect square factor is a factor of that number that can also, you can take the square root of that number. So 25 would be that factor. All right, we'll go over that some more, but you just need to remember what we learned in the last unit about perfect square factors. We learned that in section, what was it, like 9.2, I think? 9.2, yeah. All right, so that's distance. Now let's do midpoint. You have 2 of these on your quiz. You have 3 on your test. Find the midpoint. Formula for midpoint. x1 plus x2 divided by 2, y1 plus y2. Very good. Yes. So what am I doing? I'm adding my x's and dividing by 2, and adding my y's and dividing by 2. So I get 10 over 2 and 6 over 2, so 5 and 3. 5 and 3. Who got 5 and 3? Good. All right, slope is next. All right, 2 of these on your quiz, 3 of them on your test. All right, go ahead and work out these problems, or this one problem. All right, so y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And 8 minus 3 is 5 over negative 6. Does your answer match this? Are you sure it matches exactly? All right. What's wrong with this answer? My denominator cannot be negative. My run cannot be negative. So I either put the negative in the numerator or out in front of the fraction. Okay, so you had the numbers right, but that sign is going to be what trips you up. So just make sure you watch for that. All right, so that's slope. Now let's look at our special right triangles. 45, 45, 90 triangles. All right, if I give you the legs, can you, or one leg length, can you tell me x and y? What do I know about the legs of a 45, 45, 90? What do I know about the legs? They're the same. So if one is 5, the other one's going to be 5. X equals 5. All right. Does anybody know what y is going to be? Want to raise their hand and tell me? Colby? 5 times the square root of 2. So I've heard 10 today. Some people, oh, well, he meant 2. I've had some people today tell me 10. What mistake did they make when they said 10? Abby?
They multiplied it?
They multiplied it, but what rule is that one for? 30, 60, 90. So they use 30, 60, 90 rules on the wrong triangle. All right, so that's 45, 45, 90. And now let's do a couple 30, 60, 90 triangles. All right, I know that my title is wrong. It says 36, 60, 90. I don't know why, but it is a 30, 60, 90 triangle. All right, so given the information, solve for x and solve for y. For 9, is 9 long leg, short leg, or hypotenuse?
Long leg. Baseline.
Short leg, baseline value. Short leg is my baseline, so I can go to x or y. I can solve either one next. So what would be my x value? What's my long leg?
9 to the square root of 3. 9 to the square root of 3.
Yes, y'all are afraid to say the answer. Yes, it is 9 times the square root of 3. All right, and then, Maggie, you know what y is going to be? Yes, very good. I double it to make 18. All right, let's do another one. Here's your next triangle, 30, 60, 90 triangle. All right, now I give you a different value, solve for x and solve for y. Yeah, very good. Okay, so if my hypotenuse is 14, how does it relate to short leg? It's half. It's half. So I divide by 2 and I get x equals 7. All right, now y equals what? Keon? What is it? 7 times the square root of 3. Okay, so 7 times the square root of 3. You take short leg and multiply it by the square root of 3 for long leg. All right, here's your last one. Now I give you a different value, and I want you to find x and y. Which side did I give you? Long leg. So long leg to short leg, what's it going to be? 10. All right, so whatever the number is right out here in front of the radical, that's your a value from your template. Okay, so how the a kind of relates all the way around. So your x value is whatever number's in front of the radical, 10. All right, and then you have to double it for y, 10 and 20. You got that right, 10 and 20. Good. Okay, so we're done with special right triangles. Let's do trig. All right, so here's our trig setup. I need to set up ratios for sine P, cosine Q, and tangent P. I got you, hold on. Okay, so sine P, cosine Q, and tangent P. Go ahead and set up your ratios. So what acronym is kind of our, you could call it our manual for cracking the trig code? SOHCAHTOA, all right? That helps me get everything in the right order. SOHCAHTOA helps me figure out, okay, what side is supposed to go in these ratios. Okay, so sine, according to my acronym SOHCAHTOA, sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So that's going to be 40 over 58. 20 over 29? Who got that? Yay, good. Okay, cosine. Cosine. Anybody want to tell me what they got for cosine? Cosine, Colby? He got 20 over 29 again. All right. It's, just because now we're going cosine Q. If we had done cosine P, it would have been different. But cosine Q, we happen to end up with the same ratio of side lengths. What about tangent P? Anybody think they got tangent P right? Haran? Did you get it? Do you agree with her? 20 over 21? That is correct. 20 over 21. Okay. All right, so that's ratios. Now let's just, basically, we're going to estimate these values using our calculators. We can do that by rounding to 4 decimal places. All right, so you want to be careful with your rounding, that you use your rounding rules. All right, but go ahead and round each one of these to 4 decimal places. This one was, tangent 89 was a challenge to round because we had 2, 8, 9, 9, 6. So that 6 bumped the 9 to a 10, which bumped the other 9 to a 10, which bumped the 8 to a 9. 2900. So I had some people saying 57.3, but you're rounding to 4 decimal places. It just happened to be like a little domino effect, but I stop where the number can actually increase. So I went from an 8 to a 9. All right, so sine 48 and cosine 22, those were pretty basic. Did anybody get all 3 of those right? Did you get all 3 right? Okay, even the first one. That's good. All right, next slide. This is really pulling it all together. This is like the worksheet we did yesterday where, and I even asked you at the end of class, can you look at a triangle now and determine if you're solving for sine, cosine, or tangent? All right, and a lot of us would say yes, we can. So now this is just more practice on that concept. You have to determine sine, cosine, or tangent, and then plug it into your equation and solve. I want you to go ahead and fully solve this problem. Make sure you round your answer to the nearest tenth. Sine, cosine, or tangent, guys?
Sine.
Well, you said that pretty definitively. Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay, so I've got my angle, and I've got opposite and hypotenuse. It's sine. Okay, so I go by my acronym, SOHCAHTOA, sine, opposite, hypotenuse. Those are the values I have, so it's sine. Sine 36 equals x over 15. What do I do now? Do sine 36, change that to a decimal. Then what do I do?
Multiply by 15.
15 both sides. Did you get 8.8 about?
Yes.
8.8. All right, good. Here's your next one. All right, let's see. Michael, did you figure out if it's sine, cosine, or tangent? No? Okay. Anybody? Anybody think they got it? Anybody else? I'm just kidding. What did you get?
Tangent.
She said tangent. Is that what you guys got?
Yeah.
You're so shy. Yeah, it's tangent. It's okay. Be confident in your answers, right? Yes, it's tangent. Opposite over adjacent. Tangent 28. Multiply both sides by 12 after you change to the decimal, and you get your answer, 6.4. Okay? All right, last question. This one is the one that we had to do something different to, and it could help you a little extra on your test if you can figure out how to solve this problem. What is different? Well, let's start here. Is it sine, cosine, or tangent?
Sine.
It is going to be sine again, but what's different?
It's a 10 over x.
The x is in the denominator. Everybody get that? The x is in the denominator. So what do we do first? What did you learn that we do first? Find the sine of 40. Okay, now what do we do?
Multiply by x.
Multiply both sides by x. And then what do we do?
Divide by 2.
Yeah, clean it up a little bit and divide both sides by the decimal. Okay, and what I mean by clean it up is instead of the number being written with the x before it, I write it with the x after the number. And then instead of all of this, I write it with just a 10. Okay, so that's what I mean by clean it up. Who got 15.6? All right, so that's good. That means that even those extra questions that you might see on your test, you should get some points for those. If you understand that, that's pretty much everything you need to know for your quiz and test.